Welcome to this episode of the Light Path podcast. Another sort of unscheduled one, if you like. I know that I have been talking about this series that I've been doing on the law of detachment, and the fourth episode, the final episode of that series, was meant to drop today. But to be honest, in response to a lot of readings that I've been doing and just the intense astrology at play as we end 2025 and move into 2026, I wanted to jump on and do a astrology update for you, just to give you an idea of the cosmic weather. As you know, that it's a big part of what I do in my spiritual practice by tuning into the cycles of the moon, because it is a very divine feminine thing to do, because we exist in the same cycle, and the cosmic weather can really help us navigate the energies and help us to make decisions and to understand maybe what is going on with us emotionally and energetically when we don't quite know tangibly what is going on. As that beautiful, I love this saying, it's that, you know, millionaires have psychologists and billionaires have astrologists. And I'm not promoting any type of capitalistic nature. If you know me well enough, you will know that that is not where I'm at. But what I'm saying is, like, the people that really want to work with the energy of the universe for the most expansion, yes, abundance in material form, but really just the abundance of being your greater self, then tuning in with what is happening, and the weather is really going to help you make your moves more effectively. And I've had a lot of people coming to me for readings, especially over the last couple of weeks, really tapping into this confusion, this, I don't know what's next, or I'm not really satisfied with what is. Why? Because there's nothing really wrong with it. Feeling stuck but not really sure how to move. And I'm like, I think we need to talk about this as a collective. So all that to say, this episode is going to focus on the rest of the cosmic weather for 2025 and into 2026, so you can make your moves more effectively and maybe understand yourself more deeply. And that last episode of my Law of Detachment series will drop next Monday. So it will be the episode following this. And it's a really good one because Cassie, our cacao ceremonialist at the Light Path Collective, joins me. We talk about something that is not often talked about. And that's the idea that, you know what you want. You're pretty sure you're going to get what you want. Everyone's telling you you're getting what you want, and then you don't get it. And how do you detach from the disappointment, the grief of not getting what you want? And I really appreciate Cassie because she's coming on and she's talking about something that not a lot of people talk about, which is in her parenting, something that she thought she was getting and she's not getting, and how that is a part of this. She has to go through the detachment process. So that is going to be next week. But for now, what I really want to talk to you about is a big change in the cosmos that we're going through. Look, this is a big era of change. The energetics, the climate is constantly changing, and it's not really settled into its new groove, and it won't be for a while, and that's totally fine. But in the process of change, it gets really, really messy. And we're not just in the process of change, to be honest. We're in the process of revolution. We're in the process personally and therefore collectively, looking at the things in our lives and the things in our societies that are just no longer serving us, and we have to deconstruct in order to reconstruct. So it's very revolutionary energy, and the planets are literally moving, shaking, swaying, swelling, doing all the things in order to help us with this process. And revolutions, they're not neat, they're not tidy, they're messy, they're combative sometimes. And so this is why maybe on the collective we're seeing a lot of unrest, because it's like the old way has to get really extreme sometimes so we can see its flaws so clearly, so that we can rise up against it. And I wonder how that's coming up within yourself. Because on the 23rd of October, so a few days ago now, something significant began its ending, and we would all be feeling it. Because we are under the mystical gaze of the planet of Neptune always. It is the planet of dreams, of illusions, and divine connection. And it began its ending stages of its 12-year pilgrimage through the sign of Pisces. So Neptune has been in Pisces for the last 12 years. So really reflect back on your life over the last 12 to 13 years and start to recognize the things that may be ending, the things that may be coming up right now that are reflective of the choices and the circumstances that you have found yourself in the last 13 years. And recognize that some of this is massively ending. So Neptune had dipped into the sign it's going to be in for its next long pilgrimage, which is Aries. But now it's dipped back into Pisces for one last time in our lifetimes. We will never have this energy again. And it's retrograding back in Pisces. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. And so Neptune is coming full circle within this pilgrimage that it's been in. And it's back in the last final degree of Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac. So it's in that last critical degree. So huge energy ending. A critical degree is astrology is this culmination point and truth point. And it's a moment that we have to wrap up what is unresolved, especially around Neptunian themes such as the dreams that we have for ourselves, our ideals, and our spiritual. I started to publicly talk about stuff like this and looking into the skies. Now I know why. So this Neptunian in Pisces era is ending this 12-year cycle, and it has invited us into the mystical, into the intangible, and into the infinite, which is so expansive and such brilliant, beautiful energy. And what it's done, it has dissolved a lot of boundaries of logic so that we could remember our divine nature. And it's also, on the flip side, blurred some lines between truth and illusion. And this is why I think there has been a huge upswell, or I would say the beginning of the remembering of the divine nature. And I think it's happened in the form of this more popularized spirituality. And within that, to make it like, here comes the aeroplane, to make it really palatable. A lot of people have profited off spiritual ideals and concepts and teachings, trying to make them really simple and really tasty for people in order to pursue the dreams that they have. And I think this is where lines have been blurred. And so the disillusion is going to start to really rise to the surface as the truth really begins to reveal itself. Because we've lived through this era of spiritual inflation. The idea that of these really palatable spiritual ideals, such as, if you just hold the right crystal, or if you repeat the affirmations, or if you make the vision board, then your dream life is going to manifest overnight. And if you know me at all, you'll know I hate the word manifest. And this is part of the reason why, because of these blurred lines between truth and illusion. It has also been an era, as coinciding with this has been Pluto in Capricorn. Now we know Pluto came into Aquarius not long ago. So, we had all this expansion of our dream-like nature, and you can have what you want, married with the end of that capitalistic approach to life with Pluto in Capricorn, where it was you can have anything you want. Just affirm it. Just believe it. Make a vision board. Embody it. You too, if you just buy this course, you too can be working by the pool in Bali for just 2 hours a day on your laptop with your absolute handsome, rich soulmate lying next to you. It's been those vibes, and it's been a really seductive mirage of a personal paradise that became this symbol of success and maybe spiritual elitism. So if you're doing all the affirmations, if you're making all the vision boards and you're still not getting it, then it's a you problem. It's not the thing problem. And I've definitely not necessarily brought into this personally, but I've definitely been swept up by some of it for sure, especially in my early days. And I would reflect that the majority of my spiritual development has happened in this era of Neptune in Pisces. But I've always felt the ick from people that are selling these like dream lifestyles, and peddling that as a status symbol, using the guise, the terminology, the portal of spirituality, because spirituality is purely just the relationship that we have with our higher self. And all the things like vision boards and crystals and affirmations, and none of them are inherently bad. They're actually really beautiful tools. But I think for me, the lines that are blurring and the truth that is being replaced by this illusion of you can have what you want is like, well, what is it that you truly want, and why do you want it? And I hope that my work has always been geared towards that, in that idea of personal empowerment through the lens of all these beautiful but very ancient spiritual practices. And now that Neptune is standing for the next few months in its final degree of Pisces, it's kind of whispering to us, it's time to wake up. Because it's closing the scene of a really long dreamscape that we've been in. And it's time perhaps for some of us to, and all of us actually on some level, to release the illusions and step into truth. And I think the illusions that we are all being called to release right now are the ones where of like deep pleasure out of spiritual bypassing or doing the work. It's ones of we do to get instead of we do to give. And so there's a lot to grieve right now. And as we end this 9-year, it is a year in numerology of endings as well. So you can see that there is a big portal that we're all sitting at the moment of massive grief and endings and realizations. And it's hard, which is why a lot of people are feeling, myself included, are feeling stuck, stagnant. I don't really know what's next. I just know this is not it. And so I think it's really important to talk about these few months, to use them as effectively as possible. Like, let's work with the weather instead of trying to change it, because we can't change it. This is where we're at. And so how can I make the most of it? And part of that is grief. And I guess it goes back to the detachment series that I have been doing on the podcast, because we need to grieve, not just for the dreams that have been lost or unfulfilled, but for the conditioning that sold them to us. So we have to acknowledge where we have overspent our time, overspent our money, and overspent our energy, chasing the capitalistic illusion of comfort and luxury that promised us peace, but really just delivered us endless striving. And we've been seduced by aesthetics, by like the soft life fantasies, curated spirituality that looks abundant but is actually really empty. And Neptune has shown us both the magic and the mirage of that. And so as this cycle ends, it's like, what do we need to let go of that looked perfect in order to create what feels real? We're going from the gaze to the connective feeling. And this is not punishment. It's a purification process that we're all in right now. It's the washing away of the false dreams so that the soul can tune in to its truest visions and the new visions can emerge. So the old is dissolving and the new is ready to rise. It really, really is. And what we're moving through or from, we're moving from separation towards connection. And we're moving from the idea of competition to the idea of collaboration, and from accumulation to circulation. Because this new era that will ensue once Neptune makes its way back into Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, in 2026, in February 2026, which 2026 is a 1 year in numerology. So that's new beginnings. Plus it is, the first full year will be in the age of Aquarius with Pluto in Aquarius. Next year, the new beginnings will start to ensue. And I know we have no idea what they are yet. Personally, I don't know what they are for me. I just know that they will rise when the time is right. And my job is to be ready to meet them, to meet the inspirations, to meet the ideas with bravery, with a grounded sense of self, with integrity, because I know who I am and I know my values, because I've grieved a lot of what has been conditioned over the last 12 to 13 years, which is all just a part of our personal and collective evolution. And when I say we're moving from separation to connection, I think a beautiful example of this is the idea of the saying that, like, I don't owe anyone anything. That is now so redundant. And we're moving to I owe everyone everything. The idea that I don't owe anyone anything, like I don't owe them an explanation, I don't owe them my loyalty, I don't owe them whatever it is such a result of the energy that we have been in. That's hyper individuality, this separateness, and this idea of like, I'll get mine, which means you possibly won't get yours type attitude. Where in truth, like, I owe everyone everything. I owe everyone that I meet my kindness and my love. I owe everyone that I meet my best possible in that moment, because it is the connections, the relationships, the community in which we all move and ebb and flow in that creates who it is that we are. And so to be an individual in that is to be in an era where authentic sovereignty is not about self-isolation, but about self-ownership that allows into connection. Whereas self-ownership, perhaps in the past, was necessary because we needed to define it, but it wasn't necessarily driven by the interconnectedness. Because we're moving into mutual support, to shared wisdom, and to the distribution of resources. The idea of elitism, it's gone. No one wants that anymore. The idea of extraction, like how much can I get from Mother Earth, from other people, gone, ended. And exploitation, it's all being exposed right now. And it's not going down quietly. As you can see on the world stage, it's going down with a big shouting energy, and that's okay, because things usually do get really loud on their way out. And this is the sign of this collective tide that is turning. So looking ahead into February 2026, when Saturn and Neptune meet at 0 degrees, so another critical degree, it's the critical degree of initiation of beginnings in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. It's all about the new, is so significant. This hasn't happened for 170 years. This will, like I said, the energy that we've been in will never experience again. And so this marks a real cosmic rebirth energy. It's the end of one spiritual age and it's the beginning of another. Like, what a time to be alive. And this conjunction initiates us into embodied spirituality, where our dreams actually become our actions and our idealism will meet accountability, because it's a time when we're going to be asked to embody our beliefs through tangible service, through creativity, through innovation, and through personal responsibility. So that's why I say it's no longer going to be enough to say, I don't owe anyone anything, because we're remembering that we owe everyone everything, to one another, to earth, to the collective field that sustains us. We owe people our best. We owe them our kindness, our wisdom, and our patience and love, because that is how connection grows, and that is how societies strengthen. And that is the Aquarian vision of when a community becomes a real living, breathing, thriving organism. If this triggers you, if you're like, but what? You're not alone. If hearing this stirs discomfort in you, you're not wrong or you're not bad, you're human. You've been shaped by an era that told you that independence and strength and self-protection is success. And we've been trained to survive through separation. But these times are changing. Notice where your defenses rise with this information. Notice where you feel uncomfortable or nervous. Notice where the me versus you still operates in subtle ways, because it will. It pulsates through me for sure. In your work, relationships, or even in the dreams that you have for yourself. And as you notice, be really gentle with yourself as you witness it. Because awareness is not about shame, it's just about evolution. It's an invitation to remember that healing is not about perfection, it's just about the act of participation in the evolving and ever-changing world and identity that we all have. But as we wrap out 2025, let's talk about the astrology. For starters, if you're in the northern hemisphere listening to this, obviously you're heading towards your winter solstice. So it is a time for you to slow down, to rest more, to nourish yourself, to go within. In the southern hemisphere, we're going to summer. So technically the opposite is true. But given that it's also coming to the end of a year and end of a 9-year cycle, it is actually also a time for us to do just the same thing. Right now, we're in the series of 3 supermoons. If you listen to this on the day it drops, on the 27th, we'll be leading up to the second of our 3 supermoons, like big cleansing, purging energy. And Jupiter is currently journeying through Cancer. Now, Jupiter is really exalted in Cancer. It's very comfortable there. But it's really amplifying this re-education of the heart. It's also squaring Chiron, the wounded healer. So together, this energy is guiding us to really deep waters of emotional reprogramming. So everything that I've talked about so far, the weather is really conducive to us doing this work. So if childhood wounds are popping up, old grief, maybe ancestral pain rising to the surface, it's totally normal. You might find yourself revisiting stories of rejection or scarcity or abandonment. Allow it. Don't rush to fix it. But when it comes up, it's coming up to be cleansed. And it's the inner spring tide that clears what is ready to be healed. Yes, of course, reach out to healers and whoever you need to help you with this if it feels overwhelming. But be patient with it, because Neptune as an energy does ask us to surrender, not to collapse, but to trust that the waters know where to flow. The river always finds its way to the sea. So let your tears be those rivers, like saltwater baptisms, if you like. Let your emotions, as they rise, remind you that you're alive and that you're present and that you're awakening and constantly moving. So as Neptune is in Pisces for one final time in our lifetime, it's sitting there at a threshold moment for us. It's the liminal space between these 2 worlds that I've been talking about. The what was and what shall be, and we don't really know. And the initiation into greater wholeness, therefore, can only be deeper connection with self. If you've been longing for community and craving authentic belonging or aching for really meaningful relationships, then this is your call. This is it. The collective heart, it's laboring the birth of a new world. And we're in the final contractions of the old paradigm. It's not chaos at all. It's just this crowning period. And the pressure you feel is just that pulsation of the birthing of the new. Like a woman will birth a new life. The collective is under immense pressure right now. It's under immense physical, emotional, energetic, and mental pressure. And just as birth requires a lot of surrender and intuition, so does this moment. We've been taught to distrust our natural instincts, to hand over our knowing to experts or systems or courses or vision boards or narratives that promise a lot of safety. But true power is reclaimed when we remember that we know, the body knows, the soul knows. So don't rush your rebirth. Don't numb it or bypass it. Every contraction, every emotion that rises, every bit of discomfort that you feel is a cleansing. It's a wave of discomfort disguised as opportunity to remember your actual strength. When storms come, we often resist them. We try to maybe to control, to fix, and to escape. But what if the storm wasn't here to bring pain? Or what if it's not here to destroy, but it's here to purify? Stand in it. Let whatever is moving through you, move through you. Let the rain in the form of these emotions wash away what's false, and let the wind strip you back to your true essence. Like, I would be walking around these next few months not planning to do anything. I would just be. I'd be doing a lot of resting, a lot of being, a lot of feeling, a lot of journeying, and a lot of connection with self. And I'd be walking around with my palms wide open, my heart wide open, my mind wide open, surrendering to what may feel like chaos and uncertainty, but knowing it's just this process. Because what remains after this storm will be what was always meant to stay. And from the ruins of the illusion that we've been in, a new world's rising, one of truth, one of compassion and embodied connection. Hopefully a world where we remember that our light is not for display. Our greatness is not for display so that others can gawk and awe at it. Our light is for direction. The world is asking for a light as strong and wise as yours to show us the way. You're listening to this. If you feel called to this and you're still with me, then you're part of this. So let this be your reminder that you're not lost, even though you might feel disorientated. You're laboring. And you're not behind, even though timelines might be pressuring you, but you are birthing. And you're not breaking down. You're absolutely breaking open. Neptune's final tide is carrying us home. Back to ourselves, Aries, the I am, back to each other, and back to a truer dream than we could ever have even begin to have known. If this message, these words resonated with you, I hope that they held you in some way in what is perhaps being perceived as confusion. Obviously, we're working through this on a much deeper level with all the tools that you need to do so on the Moon membership. So I will meet you there at thelightpathcollective.com, or obviously I release at every new and full moon some of those resources for purchase on the sponsors of this podcast, theritualemporium.com, so you can check them out there as well. And you can just follow us, The Ritual Emporium, on all socials, and you'll see posts of when those are available. But for now, I'm just sending you hopefully just permission to be, and permission to be okay right now as the illusions are being dissolved and truth is rising, because you've got all the tools and skills that you need in order to embody what is to come next. Don't rush timelines. They're not yours to even create or be concerned with anyway. And as you walk this path of your own light, becoming the embodied experience of yourself, I'm just, as always, sending you so much love.